Okay, good morning everybody, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Thursday morning as we are getting closer to Shabbat, my friends. And here we are, Perashat Noach, and we are studying over here the commentary of Rabbeinu Bahye again, Rabbeinu Bahye ben Asher, also known as Rabbeinu Bahye ibn Halawa, not to be confused with the Rabbeinu Bahye who wrote the Chovot HaLevavot. His name was Rabbeinu Bahye ibn Pekuda. This is Rabbeinu Bahye ibn Halawa, Rabbeinu Bahye ben Asher. He lived 150 years later, and he was actually a big scholar, student of the Rashba in Saragossa, in Spain. So here we go. Let's see what he has to teach us today. Let's fast forward, my friends, to the end of the parasha. End of the parasha tells us, where am I? Okay, sorry, wrong page. Okay, here we go. Please turn to chapter 11. Today's class is sponsored anonymously for the Refuah Shlema of all of Am Yisrael. If anyone is interested in sponsoring a class to help these shiurim going, please email us info@ejsny.org. So here we go. Chapter 11, my friends. The Torah tells us right after the world was separated from the Tower of Babel, and we spoke about that yesterday actually. So we move on now. The Torah tells us, Ele Toldot Shem. This is the family tree of Shem. Okay? Now, sorry. Ele Toldot Shem. Okay. Torah tells us Shem is Me'at Shana. He's 100. He gives birth to, not him, his wife, but he has a child, Arpachshad. They didn't have that back then yet. Okay, he has a child. He has a child, Arpachshad, 2 years after the Mabul. And how long he lived? Arpachshad had a kid, Shalach. And how long he lived? Shalach had a kid, Ever. Ever had a kid, Paleg. Paleg had a Re'u. Re'u had a few kids. One of them was Serug. Okay, so the family tree. Nahor. Starting to recognize the names now. Nahor had, here we go, Pasuk 24, chapter 11. Vahi Nahor tesha v'esrim shana vayoled et Tarah. Okay, so Tarah already we should know. Nahor has a child, Tarah. Tarah, or Terah, we now call him the next pasuk. Vayoled et Avram ve'et Nahor ve'et Haran. So Terah has 3 children, Avram, Nahor, and Haran. By the way, you see that Terah named his son Nahor after his dad Nahor. So you see he was Syrian. No kidding. Okay, fine. So anyways, Terah had 3 kids, Avram, Nahor, and Haran. Ve'ele toldot Terah. Terah cholidet Avram, ve'et Nahor, et Haran. And then he had Lot. Haran had Lot. And basically, Torah is giving us the family tree of all the way from Shem down. And you see why it's doing it, because it's trying to set up the stage for Avraham. Right? All of this is leading to Avraham. So here we go, my friends, to Rabbeinu Bahye. Please open to chapter 11, Pasuk Yud of Rabbeinu Bahye. And let's see what he wants to say. Lo timtza zichron mita betolot Shem. You won't find death anywhere here by Shem. Usually, the Torah says he had him and then he died at this age. And he had him and he died at this age. Here, there's no one dying. Lo timtza zichron mita betoldot Shem. Says Rabbeinu Bahye, there's no death recorded here. But like you find earlier from Adam to Noah. Why? Could be because Mashiach is going to come from Shem, right? Ba Mishem. U'Mashiach ben David lo yeh bo mita. And we know that Mashiach is going to be eternal. He's going to live forever. He won't have death. Aval hu atid sheyihyeh le'olam. He's going to live forever. Ki me'et bo'o. And look at this over here. He's giving you a prediction, which unfortunately now seems to be incorrect. But he says, Ki me'et bo'o, from the time that Mashiach comes, Yiyeh tatlaz shanim, there will be 837 years left, ad letashlum ha'elef hashishi, till when the year 6000 comes. Now we are up to now 5783. So when if you go back, he's writing this 700 years ago. He wrote this in the year 5000 around. And from 5,000 to 6,000, there's 1,000 years. So he was predicting that when Mashiach comes, it will be 837, around 130 years after he wrote this. Now we know historically, we look back, that did not happen. Mashiach didn't come 130 years after. But again, he's not the first to predict a date of Mashiach, and he wasn't the last. There unfortunately have been many predictions that, again, not that they're wrong, they were wrong, but maybe they were wrong because we didn't do our job in bringing the Mashiach, right? There are opportune times for Mashiach to come. Ultimately, Yaakov Avinu on his deathbed didn't even know, right? He wanted to tell his kids when it's coming, but it left him. But you see here a prediction. But either way, coming back to what our point is, the word death is not mentioned anywhere. Okay? Good. Now, with that being said, we now move on to the next piece. Now, I want you to remember what I said, okay? Don't forget what I just said, what we just learned. Now let's go and learn a Rashi at the end of the Perashah. Last pasuk. Let's go back a little bit. Let's read what happened. So Terah has 3 sons. Yes, what were their names? Remember one more time. Avram, Nahor, and Haran. Vahi Terah, he was 70 when he had them, by the way. Okay? That back then that was okay, to be 70 and have 3 kids. But, Ele todo Terah, Avram, Nahor, Haran, and Haran had Lot. Now, Vayamot, Pasuk says, Vayamot Haran al pene Terah Haviv. Haran, he dies. So that's very tragic. Haran. Now, so Terah loses a son. Avraham lost a brother. And Midrashim of why he died, he jumped in the fire after Avraham. I don't want to get into that right now. Vayikach Avram v'Nahor lahem nashim. Now, Avram and Nahor take for themselves wives. Avram's wife, what's her name? Sarai. Nahor's wife is Milcah. And they're both, according to the Pasuk, they're nieces. Okay? They're both the daughters of Haran. Vatehi Sarai akara in lavalad. Sarai unfortunately is barren, she has no children. Vayikach Terah et Avram beno ve'et Lot ben Haran beno ve'et Sarai kalato eshet Avram beno vayetzeu itam me'ur kasdim lalechet aretz Canaan vayevu ad Haran v'yeshu sham. Now Terah brings the family and they settle in Haran. Haran is Aleppo maybe. Vayiyu yemei Terah 5 shanim u'matayim shana vayamot Terah becharan. Last pasuk of this week's parasha. Terah is 205 years old and he dies. Vayamot Terah becharan. Now, Rashi comes along. Let's read Rashi. Rashi has a problem mathematically. Is this the right place for this pasuk? Did he die right here? Says Rashi, Le'ahar sheyatza Avram meharan uba le'eretz Canaan. Really, he really didn't die here. He says he only died after they get to Israel. Ve'haya sham yoter mishishim shana. And Avraham was in Israel for more than 60 years. And only then did Terah die. How could I prove that mathematically? She'arei katuv ve'Avram ben 5 shanim ve'shiv'im shana b'to meharan. Pasuk tells us that Avraham was 75 when he left Haran. Right? That is next week's parasha. God says to Avraham, Lech lecha. The first words of the next pasuk, next week's parasha, God says to Avraham, Lech lecha. He's 75. And how old was Terach when he gave birth to Avraham? Well, V'terach ben 70 shana shenolad. We just read it. He was 70. So do the math. 75 plus 70. Terach is 145 when God says to Avraham, Lech lecha. Is the math clear? One more time. When God says to Avraham, Lech lecha, go, leave your family, go down to Israel. Next week's parasha, Avraham leaves. Avraham is 75. His father is 145. Well, if his father dies at 205, if my math is correct, from 145 to 205 is 60. Okay? So you have 60 years left of Terach's life. So why is it right that he died over here? ולמה הקדים הכתוב מיתתו של תרח ליציאתו של אברהם? That's the question of Rashi. Now Rashi is going to give an answer to the question, but before we see Rashi's answer, we have to ask the obvious question, the question of the Maharal. The Maharal, the Gur Arya, is a commentary on Rashi. He says, what are you talking? What's the problem? This is literally every pasuk that we've read from the beginning of the Torah till now, where it lists someone. It says this guy was born, he had this kid, and then he died. It tells you about his death way before it actually happened. But it needs to just close the chapter. So we tell you he was born, he had these kids, and he died. And then it goes on to his kids, and it tells you he was born, he had kids, and he died. Now it's true, he didn't die here. Of course he didn't die here. There was many, many, many years till he died, but we're not going to wait till later to tell you he died. We're going to tell you that he died now. So why is Rashi bothered all of a sudden now? Wait, 1 second. Terah didn't die over here. There's still 60 years left. Why is it mentioning it now? Right? That's the question of the Maharal. My friends, we now have an answer to Maharal's question. Because what did Rabbeinu Bahya tell us? Rabbeinu Bahya noticed that there was no word of death mentioned all here. The whole family tree, no one died. That's Rashi's question. Why all of a sudden now are you coming and telling me about the death of Terah? We know he died. And we know he didn't die here. But you didn't, for Shem, right? Mashiach comes from Shem. So we didn't list anyone's death. So all of a sudden now, you're coming and you're telling me the death of one man, Terah. You see, this is how you have to study Rashi, my friends. Very, very beautiful. I hope you're appreciating this the same way I am. Either way, this is Rashi's question. So says Rashi, so you know why we're telling you about the death of Terah? Shelo yeh hadavar mefursam lakol, because it looks very bad if you don't see Terah dead over here, and you're reading the pasuk. It says Terah's an old man. He leaves his father at the age of 70. His father's old man. His father's 145. It looks very bad. Lo kiyem Avraham et kevod aviv. People will say Avraham didn't respect his parents. He left. Right? The next pasuk. Vayomer Adonai el Avram lech lecha. So it looks very bad for Avraham to leave his father. Now, why is he leaving his father? He's leaving his father because God commanded him. But still, it doesn't look so appropriate. Leaving your dad? He's an old man. He needs your help. Now, why did God do that is a good question. God decided it's time for Abraham to leave. He has to disconnect from his family. His father is idol worshiper. No good. So Abraham's got to move on. Abraham, he's got to start a new life, etc. But nonetheless, the pasuk tries to hide as much as possible so that to the novice, to the eyes of an amateur reader, it wouldn't look so bad. So it writes that he died over here. It writes it here, even though if you technically do the math, you'll see that he actually died not here. He died much later. But at least to the reader, it looks kosher. He died, and then God said to Abraham, Lech lecha, please, I need you to leave now. By the way, it was a very difficult test for Abraham to leave. This is one of the 10 tests of Abraham, don't forget. And to leave his father was a difficult thing. Abraham didn't want to leave. Especially remember that Abraham is Isha Hesed. Abraham's the man of kindness. What kind of kindness is that, to leave your old man? So therefore, it was a big test for Abraham. And he did it because God said. But again, hiding the not to make it look so bad. Therefore, the pasuk says that he died. Now, there is a problem though. If he didn't die here, how could you write that he did die here? Doesn't it look like lying? Right? That's the question. Same question, by the way, is asked by Moshe Rabbeinu's death. Moshe Rabbeinu says that he died. Who wrote that? Who wrote Moshe died? Moshe? So he lied. This is a question that the Gemara discusses. Machloket, what exactly happened? So some say Yehoshua wrote the last 8 psukim. Some say, no, Moshe wrote it, but without spacing. So it didn't say Vayamot Moshe. It had a 7-letter word, Vayimt Moshe. Vayimt Moshe, right? Russian. Vayimt Moshe. And Yehoshua came and put the spacing. Okay, but either way, again, a lot of Dvar Torahs on that, not for now. So Rashi says, it's nice that you want to protect Avraham to not make him look like he's the bad guy by leaving his dad when he's older. But bottom line, you're lying if you're writing that he died and he didn't die over here. So says Rashi, no, we're not lying. Because the truth is, Rasha'im like Terah, even in their life, they're considered dead. The righteous, the righteous people, even when they die, they're alive. We have to realize, my friends, when we say that the tzaddikim are alive, they're alive. Rashi's alive. We're learning about him. He's alive. Rabbeinu Bachye, all these tzaddikim, they're alive. Terach, Avodah Zarah, idol worshipper, even when they're living, they're dead. They're on their way to death, and they're going to expire and cease, and they're dead. It's over. It's the beginning of the end. Right? When there's 20 minutes left in a game, but they're down by 50 points, the game's not over. You still have a quarter left, quarter and a half. You have some time, but it's over. The game's over. Right? What does it mean it's over? It's not over. There's still time, but it's over. When a Rasha is living, it's over. Even though he's alive, but it's over. His life's over, and it's coming to an end, and it's going to be a permanent end. So a Rasha, even in his lifetime, is dead. So the Pasuk is not incorrect for writing that he's dead. Now, let's come now to Rabbeinu Bachye. I'm going to read to you what he says, similar to Rashi, and then he's going to add. V'rabotenu zal, and our rabbis nit'oreru bazeh, were very conscious of the fact that Terach didn't die over here. Ki haya ha'inyan kevod Avraham, but rather it's to protect Avraham's image. She'ilu lo hiskir mita b'terach, because if it didn't write that he died, and Avraham were to leave, like it says lech lecha, like in next week's parasha, yihu aberiyot meranenim, the reader would have accused him shehu maniach haviv v'yotzeh, of abandoning his father. And therefore the Torah proceeds by reporting the death of Terach kodem yetziat Avraham, before Avraham leaves. So we shouldn't say that he didn't respect his father and mother by leaving him in his old age. And therefore the pasuk over here lists the death of Terach, like we said before. This is what he's adding over here. This is his extra salt, his spice. He's saying it didn't say death by anyone else. He's answering the Maharal's question over here tacitly. It didn't say death. Why all of a sudden is it saying death over here? And v'karoa katuv met lefi shaya terach rasha, and it can't call him dead because he was wicked. Oved zelamim, worshipped idols. V'arsha'im b'ayim keroim metim. Now, you're going to ask a question. He asked the question. What is the question? Let's fast forward, my friends, to next week. Remember the covenant of the parts, the Brit Ben Abetarim, where God promises to Avraham the bad and the good. The bad, we all know these psukim. Vayomer le'Avraham yado v'teda. God says to Avraham, you shall surely know ki ger yeh zaracha be'eretz lo lahem, that your children will be strangers, ger, in a foreign land. Va'avadum ve'inu otam, and they're going to be tortured 400 shana, for 400 years. Ve'gam et hagoy, and not only that, but the goy, the people that they're going to be serving, I'm going to judge them. God says, I'm going to judge the Egyptians. And what's the last pasuk? Anyone know the last ending? After I take them out, I'm going to punish the Egyptians, and finally, to make it worth it for Jews, there always has to be some money, right? Okay, fine. God says, don't worry, I'm going to give them some money. Beautiful. Now we don't realize that the pasuk continues. ואתה תבוא אל אבותיך בשלום, תקבר בשיבה טובה. God says, and you, don't worry, you won't see any of this. Tavo el avotecha beshalom. You're going to come to your father. Okay? You're going to come to your father in peace. Look at Rashi. What does it mean you're going to come to your father in peace? Aviv oved avodah zarah. His father worshipped idols. You're wishing, you're promising Abraham that he's going to be reunited with his dad? What kind of promise is that? His father's burning. His father's in Gehenna. What do you mean he's going to be reunited with his father? I hope not. What kind of good news is that? Answer. Limedcha she'asa terach teshuva. Terach teshuva. And therefore, God's saying to Abraham, you're going to be reunited with your pops up there, not down here, up there. Tikaver b'seva tova, and you're going to be buried with good tidings. Meaning, Ishmael also, your children will do teshuvah, and Esav won't go off the D till you die, and that's why Abraham died 5 years earlier. So comes along Rabbeinu Bahye. Let's come back. Asks, 1 second. So you're going to tell me, so Terach is dead because he's a Rasha, and it's okay to call him dead. However, it says, Ve'ata tavo l'avotecha b'shalom. We just read that he did teshuvah. So he's not a Rasha. Ze haya, you ready for the answer? Ze haya b'schut Avraham. Terach had no real teshuvah on his own. The only reason Terach enters Olam Haba is only because of his son. Aval hu kol yemei hayav haya rasha v'met berish'o. The guy's entire life was a bad, wicked guy. Now again, wicked, I don't know, was he bad character or just idols? But the point is, for our discussion, he's a rasha. For our purposes, as far as we're concerned right now, he has no Olam Haba. He worshipped idols. He had no merit on his own to enter. But God says to Abraham, but he will enter because of you. Wow. Vehitzil hapri et ha'ilan. Now the fruit we find just saved the tree. Terach, the tree, the father. Abraham, the fruit. And Rabbeinu Bahye is now going to show us that sometimes a fruit can save the tree. Umezeh amru b'midrash. And from this they teach us, Kol ha'etzim kesherim lemizbeach. All of the woods are used for burning on the mizbeach. You know, on the mizbeach they needed wood to burn for the korbanot. What kind of wood? Does it have to be a cedar tree? Does it have to be a eucalyptus? No. Kol any tree. But we don't bring zayit or geffen. We don't bring an olive tree. We don't bring a grape vine. Why? Why? Because Hashemen ve'hayayin krevin keveh mizbeach. Because we're already bringing olives and grapes on the mizbeach with the korbanot. We bring oil from olives. You bring wine from the grapes. Hitzilu aperot et ha'ilanot, and therefore the fruits saved, so to speak, the trees, the wood. So you don't need a grape tree. You don't need a grapevine, or an olive tree. Because the fruits are already being brought. They save the parent from needing to be brought on the Mizbeach. And therefore Avraham also saves his dad. Like it says, Ve'ata tavo l'avotecha beshalom. Unbelievable stuff over here. And he says, he quotes a pasuk. Bara mezakeh ba'aba. Our rabbis tell us that a child can give merit to the father. Abba lo mezakeh bara. But a father cannot really help his sick kid. You know, we often think that parents are there for their kids. Yes, father, mother, they give to their kids. But that's only in this world, my friends. You have to know that in the next world, it's the exact opposite. In the next world, no matter how big you are, you can't help your kids. But your kids down here can help you up there. Like it says in the pasuk, Ve'en miyadi matzil. What does that mean? En miyadi matzil. I can't save them. En Avraham matzil et Ishmael. Avraham can't save Ishmael as much as he wants. Ve'lo Yitzchak matzil et Esav. Yitzchak cannot help Esav. Growth cannot be, you cannot forward your money, your mitzvot, downwards. However, you can forward it upwards. That's the whole idea, by the way. When a son comes to say Kaddish, when a daughter organizes different brachot for a parent, mitzvot, chesed, tehillim, when kids do things, a lot of times a parent passes away and the kids are sitting there and they're, my parent wasn't such a great person, and you see they're nervous. Doesn't matter. Avraham Avinu saved his father, Terah, because of his mitzvot. Avraham could help his dad. He can't help his son, but he could help his dad. Pasuk says, Ateret zekenim benei banim. What does that mean? Ateret zekenim. Grandchildren, benei banim, are the atara. What's an atara? A crown. A grandkid is the crown of the grandfather. Vetiferet banim avotam. Tiferet is glory. The father is the glory for the kid, but the grandkid is the crown of the grandparent. Lefi, what does that mean? Because the ben mezaketav, the kid could help his father. Therefore, by the kids we use the language of crown, because when a father has a good kid, a righteous kid, it's like a crown of a king. Hem ateret berosh hazekenim, when their kids are righteous tzaddikim, going in their ways. But the other way around cannot help. Therefore, it's only glory, it's only tiferet. There's only tiferet banim when the banim continue in the path. My friends, this is over here tremendous lesson, and I think chizuk, realizing, sometimes when a parent passes away, we are sad. I wish I could have done more. I wish I was there for them. I ignored them. I didn't do. Rabotai, Rabbeinu Bachya is giving us all an out, and he's telling us that actually there's more you could do now for them than when they were alive. There's more that you could do now for them than they could have done for you. You can help your parents, you could help your father, you could help your mother. Avraham Avinu, by being a righteous person, he gives his father olam haba. His father didn't have. His father doesn't get on his own. But Avraham, he's able to lift him up. He pushes his father. Bara kir'ad de abu. The kid is the legs of the father. What does it mean the kid's the legs of the father? The kid pushes the father up. The kid pushes the father up. By going here, he's walking and he's helping his father walking. Usually a puppet is from up down. You hold it up and you're moving it down. But really with spirituality, it's a backwards puppet, the upside down puppet. The kid's here and he's moving his father up there. Isn't that wild? Isn't that amazing? You could be down here, pushing up, pushing, helping them, growing. From here, we're controlling the strings in Shamayim. Bara kir'ad de abu. Child is the legs of the dad. He keeps the father going. And that's why David HaMelech, when he passes away, he calls his son, he says to him, he commands him, Hineni holech bederech kol haaretz. It says he commands his son and he tells him, I am going in the way of the world. And it seems like this is not really a commandment. It seems like this is a preface to the command. And what he was saying was, I'm going to die, and therefore please make sure to do X, Y, and Z. Hineni olech bederech kol haaretz. I'm going to go in the way of the land. I'm going to expire. I'm going to pass away like everyone, right? Two things in life guaranteed: death and taxes, right? So David's saying to his son, I'm going to die, and therefore please make sure to do this, this, and that. But some say a little bit sharper. He was commanding his son. Hineni olech bederech kol haaretz. He was commanding his kid, make sure that I'm holech. Make sure that when I die, I keep walking. Make sure that when I die, you keep doing mitzvot. Your mitzvot can help me. The pri matzil et ha'ilan et ha'etz. The fruit can save the tree. And that is what really, this is something that we could do for our parent. This is the whole idea of sponsoring a class, le'ilui nishmat. How does that work? When you sponsor a class, now that class, the people listening, it's all in the merit of that person. And that person, they keep climbing. Some people, though, unfortunately, their web of influence just remained alone. Nobody. They never inspired, they never touched, they never impacted. They only inspired themselves. They don't have anyone else. And the truth is, it's not only your kids that can lift you up. Even your students can lift you up. Your students, a person has Talmidim, a person has someone that they inspired. Someone now is Shomer Shabbat, kosher, praying. Kids are in yeshiva because of you. Whether it's because of you're talking to them or because of you're helping them financially, you convince them to put them in yeshiva, you're able to help them out, give them a few $1,000s to put them in yeshiva. That's going to your account. Some people, they don't go on. I'm on my own business, I do myself, leave me alone. By the way, there's criticism on Noah. Noah was such a guy. Noah didn't care about anyone else. He built a teva for 120 years, and who came on the ark with him? 120 years. How many people did he inspire? How many people did he bring except for his own kids? Zero. Nobody. He didn't impact, he didn't inspire, he didn't influence. He lived alone. And that is very tragic. That is very tragic. That's very sad. And again, there's what to say about Noah's righteousness. But as far as his impact, he did nothing. He secluded himself. And therefore actually God says as a punishment, Bo ata, go with the animals in the teva. You want to seclude yourself, you want to disconnect from mankind, no problem. Go with the animals. That's why the Al-Shikh says, Noah, the Pasuk says, Vayoled Noah shelo shavanim. Noah had 3 kids, Shem, Ham, Yafet. Question, I know how to count. Thank you very much for stating the obvious. I know he had 3 kids. You don't have to say 3. I know how to count. Just tell me he had Shem, Ham, and Yafet, and I'll know it's 3. Says the Al-Shikh, he only had 3. He didn't have any other kids. He never inspired anyone else. There was nobody else that he brought onto the ark of life, of saving with him. The only people that he ever brought on the teva were only 3. It's a criticism, 3 and no one else. So that is something that we have to ask ourselves. What are we doing to create in our children, biological children, and also spiritual children out there in the world, so that we can cast our influence on the people around. Ultimately, this is a huge reminder for children. Huge reminder. How lucky that we have this over here, this information. When someone dies, it's not over. And it's not like you put them in the ground and that's it, you never see them again, and there's nothing more that you can do. Opposite. This is the most you can do by living a life of excellence, of righteousness, of kindness, of prayer, of chesed, of Torah, mitzvot. You are the legs of your deceased parent. Other way around, can't do it. A righteous father won't help. Abraham didn't help Ishmael, but Abraham helped Terach. So although Vayamot Terach, although Terach dies over here, and he didn't die here, he dies later if you do the math, 60 years later. But we could write that he died because he was wicked. How could he be wicked if he did teshuvah? The answer is he never did teshuvah. He died wicked. But when he died, his son Abraham was able to lift him, till God was able to say, Abraham, ve'ata tavo el avotecha b'shalom. I got good news. You're going to go up there and you're going to join, guess who? You're going to join your father up there. Hashem should bless us to always be able to make our parents, whether they're down here or up there in Shamayim, to always make them proud. We'll stop over here. Wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful day. God willing, we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.